Although, all the while, I knew I had put the bars there. I'd been constructing this thing from the time I was a child. And I think from a very early age, I had the notion that I was going to be a doctor. I had a very busy practice and had established a good reputation, and I was the responsible citizen type. At times, it seemed that I had succeeded too well, because I really had what it was I thought I wanted. I had a nice house in a nice place, and we were able to lead a very good life. And somehow it all began to pale. I felt I'd become a slave to that. A slave to the house, which demanded so much of my time and attention. The yard and the gardening and the lawn and the maintenance and all that sort of thing was just got to be a terrible burden. I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't like what I saw happening to my children, for instance. I didn't like it when I'd hear them talking with their 10 and 12-year-old friends about what stocks they owned and what the market price was and how much money they had in the bank and what kind of vacation they were going to have and the camp they were going to for the summer. And all that sort of thing. It made me think that my kids would be better off if they didn't have all that. There were many times when I really felt that life as I had envisioned it had come to an end. There wasn't really anything more that was important for me. And I came to a point at which I decided that I had to get out of that to preserve my own sanity and myself as a person. So I made the decision to move to Monterey. I guess the thing that I enjoy most is getting far out, away from the cities and from people. Being near the ocean is a big part of it. There's something about the motion and the sound, the ruggedness of the rocky coastline, the weather. I used to hate and dread Wisconsin winters, and I didn't have any clear kind of picture of what it was I was going to in Monterey, except that I felt it would be a life in which there could be more for me. And I wasn't clear at all on how I was going to achieve that. But I just was determined that I was not going to get into the same kind of thing I had been in before. The striving to achieve and accomplish and to get things. I'd had enough of the things. I didn't want any more. The only job which I found within any reasonable kind of commuting distance was at Soledad Prison as the chief psychiatrist. And within the prison, one of the things which I heard often from inmates was they treat us like animals, so we behave like animals. And I would hear the other side of that from the staff people who would say they behave like animals, so we treat them like animals. On the 19th of May, a program administrator was stabbed and killed by an inmate who had been under my care. So on the day following the murder, the superintendent's assistant requested that I give him the confidential psychiatric file on this man. And I refused to do so, and explained to him my reasons.
Done the paving and the pouring
of
the subtle trickle down, wealth and faith and stones thrown forward, left from louder crowds. The signal
they said, "We'll then search your office and take it," and they did.
In the clouds.
So I was escorted out the gate, and that was the end of my stay at Soledad Prison. Part of the thing which I felt in being discouraged with the previous life I had around the age of 40 was that it was really it was unjust, and it was almost obscene for anybody to make as much money as I made, to live in a house which was not extravagant, but $60,000-$70,000 when there was
melt out on my tongue a chocolate dream to fall asleep. A bird's cage summer song of the air sweet, the simple beat's been playing all along. I'm feeling wholly down, trying to dig a hole deeper in the purest light of the driven snow.
Much of my life, but really being alone.
Bolder than the crow that flies,
like out on the edge of the cliff, and the next step is over.
Falling forward.
And it felt as though that was the way it was going to be if I made that decision and took the step. The toughest thing was to leave my children. And I miss them. There's a lot of guilt mixed up in it. I feel that in a way I sort of abandoned them, but there just didn't seem to be any way to maintain part of that life.
I slip into my shell.
For me, anyway, the comfort and security and all that went along with
Hovercraft that served
American
me
dream
frowns
of yours
down from highbrow, and then it simply vanishes to somewhere behind a
and
cloud.
I just wasn't willing
It
to be
disappears
killed
to
for that
destiny.
kind of price.
Explosive
I had to find something
Christmas
else.
sound.
Firing Line with William F. Buckley, Jr. Tonight's guest, Dr. Timothy Leary. Here's tonight's chairman, C. Dickerman Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, our topic for discussion tonight is the world of
Guess
LSD.
I'm gonna have to sew it up now.
Our guest
Finally.
is Dr.
I should've
Timothy
done it
Leary,
a while ago,
founder of the modern psychedelic
but I was
movement.
just fucking.
Our student guests are from
Fucking
Queens College.
right there.
Mr. Buckley, will you proceed?
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
there is a
Dr.
God.
Timothy Leary
William F.
is the
Buckley.
Pope of what he chooses to
Timothy
call a
Leary.
new religion, which is based on the consumption of drugs, particularly at the moment LSD, whose attractions are said to be sweeping the campuses, and after whose initials Dr. Leary has named his new religion, the League for Spiritual Discovery. Dr. Leary really is a doctor of clinical psychology. He went to school in Alabama and took a PhD in Berkeley, and after experiencing nirvana in Spain, went to Harvard, where he was in due course fired. Now, it is not easy to be fired from Harvard, at least not for misbehavior. But it transpired that Dr. Leary had become tour director for a lot of his students whom he was sending on long-distance trips through the mists of psychedelic experience. Dr. Leary then went to Millbrook, New York,
You can look it up right
which
now,
has served as the headquarters of his movement. But he has traveled widely and is used to receiving standing ovations as he advances the position that, as someone observed, that opiates are the religion of the people. I should like to ask Dr. Leary, why is it so generally recognized that well-adjusted people tend to LSD and other drugs more so than less, or rather less so than well-adjusted people?
Would you repeat the question?
Yeah. Why is it that it is the common impression that poorly adjusted people tend in greater numbers to the world of LSD than normally adjusted people?
Well, I've never heard that suggested before. The people who are using marijuana,
Then you're badly
LSD,
adjusted.
today tend to be the highly educated. They come from our so-called best colleges.
Being well
There's no
educated has
LSD
nothing to
or
do with what a
marijuana
customer
problem
said.
down in Podunk Junior College in Arkansas.
Gaslit was,
It's at Harvard, Princeton, and even at Yale.
Who was in
That 50 to 70% of the undergraduats are seriously experimenting with the most important thing that can be experimented with, their own consciousness.
Are you confusing adjustment with education?
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Why did you mention the difference between Podunk U and Yale University? What makes you think they're better adjusted at Yale than at Podunk U?
He was a huge character.
You hadn't thought about it. Nobody told you about it.
No, I'm trying to see what your problem is, and I think I've diagnosed it.
I'm confused.
Go ahead, Doc.
Your approach to the word drug, I think, is that of many Americans, particularly over the age of 50. When the word drug is mentioned, think of some opiate, something that is an escape, something that takes you away from reality, something that you take if you're a failure.
I just confused
All
them.
of the statistics that I've seen indicate that
There's
the
no
people who
blame.
use
I just
psychedelic
confused
drugs are people
G.
who
Gordon
are
Liddy
pretty
with
well
Timothy
adjusted
Leary,
by
but I
any
didn't
standard
because
or
I hadn't
criterion of
gone
what it
much
named.
into it. I actually went
Income,
into
education,
figuring out the-
creativity,
who those
productivity,
two guys
and they
were.
want more
It's like
because what
confusing,
psychedelic drugs produce is
There's a lot
not
of
the
opposites that like
dull,
bananas are
glazed,
confused with apples. No, that's not.
free martini
that's not one.
haze.
But you know what I'm saying? There are
Psychedelic drugs intensify consciousness. They're microscopic in their effect, and they're used by people who are looking for more.
No, that's not one. Crocodiles.
Well, they may be used by people who are looking for more, but they are also used by people who seem to feel incompetent to use natural experience as a means of getting more. Isn't that the case?
Not at all.
A fascinating discussion